Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down the 7-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into it, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. YouTube continues to tell me that about 70% of my audience is not subscribed, so if that is you watching this video right now and you enjoy the content, if you could take 1 second to do that, that would be great. It's free, it takes 1 second. If you decide later on that you'd like to unsubscribe and go elsewhere, you can do that. That's free as well, so just take the time to do that if you're enjoying it. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. Don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day, and let's get into it. As always, I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts, figure out the top pitchers that we're going to want to play, and then we'll get into bats after. Top on the slate is Charlie Morton with a 29.3% K rate, a 12.8 swinging strike rate, 25.9% K rate against righties, and then a 32.7% K rate against lefties. Really good K rate stuff, and he gets to take on a Miami Marlins team tonight. That doesn't exactly scare us, isn't the biggest presence in the world. I had some interest in them last night, and hopefully you played them because they did go off, but that was a little bit of a different matchup taking on the lefty. Charlie Morton, I think, is a great spot here. He comes in at 8.5 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 7.6. And like I said, not a team that really scares us, and there are plenty of strikeouts to go around, especially in the middle of this order. You got Garrett Cooper, Brian Anderson, Adam Duvall, Jazz Chisholm, Miguel Rojas, all those guys who will strike out quite a bit against those right-handed pitchers that can really get the job done. So Charlie Morton, I do think, is a great option tonight. Second on the list, we got Carlos Rodon taking on the Cleveland Indians. 28.4% K rate overall, a 27.4% K rate against righties, and then a 34.5% K rate against lefties. Very good against lefties. He's a lefty dealer himself, so that makes sense. But overall, pretty decent strikeout rate. I get to take on this Cleveland Indian squad, who doesn't really scare me all too much as far as blowing him up either, to be honest with you. They do have some lefty mashers, most notably Jordan Luplow at the top of the order. You know, got Franmil Reyes in the middle of the order, but even being said that those are lefty mashers, they do have their fair share of strikeouts, so I do think that Carlos Rodon is an interesting option as well, taking on this Cleveland squad today. And third on the list, you could argue, is possibly the top option on the slate based upon his matchup, Lance McCullers Jr. taking on the Detroit Tigers tonight. 25.7% K rate overall, 60.6% ground ball rate, the fly ball rate. Really, really impressive stuff as far as that's concerned. 22.8% K rate against the righties, and then a 28.8% K rate against lefties. So really strikes out lefties at a really high rate as well, and the Tigers are going to be rolling out quite a few of those lefties, a lot of switch hitters in their lineup. So you got, Grossman, Willie Castro, Jaime Candelario, all lefties because of the fact that they are switched. They're going to hit from the left side of the plate in this one. And you got Nomar Mazara, Nikhil Badu, and Victor Reyes. Lots of lefties. And when you're factoring in that the Detroit Tigers strike out a lot, and then you factor in that Lance McCullers is really effective in the strikeout rate against those left-handed hitters, I think that he makes a lot of sense tonight. He comes in over on DraftKings, priced at 9.9, top priced pitcher on the slate as far as FanDuel is concerned. They got him priced at 9.5. So he's definitely my number one tonight. When you're factoring all this stuff, he's a 260 favorite. Could expect to definitely get the win in this one, and definitely gonna have some interest in Lance McCullers Jr. Zach Wheeler taking on his former team in the New York Mets tonight at 22.6% K rate. Good ground ball, fly ball stuff. Good hard contact stuff. 23% K rate against righties. Good ground ball, hard contact. Really impressive in those categories. And then lefties, a 22% K rate as well. So Zach Wheeler, really consistent board. Really does a good job of limiting that hard contact. And he's taking on a New York Mets team tonight who, there's a few strikeouts in there. It's just a matter of whether it's really necessary to go to Zach Wheeler when we have these other options that we just discussed, like a Charlie Morton, like a Lance McCullers Jr. I do think that Zach Wheeler is definitely viable, and Dustin May is definitely viable. It's more, honestly, I have a lot more interest in these two guys on DraftKings, where you get those point deductions for hits given up, walks given up, that kind of thing. Dustin May and Zach Wheeler make a lot of sense because they're going to go out there and consistently deal, ground balls and pitch deep into the game most likely. So these two guys specifically, I have more interest over there on DraftKings. Don't get me wrong, you can play them on FanDuel, but like I said, my top option over there is probably going to be Lance McCullers Jr. And yeah, that's kind of all I'd be looking to, honestly, as far as pitching is concerned in this one. I always like to give you guys some cheap options that you could be playing if you need to go there. My cheap option would probably be Josh Fleming on the Tampa Bay Rays, taking on the Texas Rangers because of how much they've been striking out recently. Fleming has really good ground ball, fly ball stuff. A 19.2% K rate, 18.5% K rate against righties, and then a 21.1% K rate against lefties. And when looking at the Texas Rangers lineup, you can see they do have a lot of lefties in there. And the fact that Fleming's dealing a lefty on the mound, it's going to make me like these, or him as a cheap option the most if I were to give someone a cheap option to be throwing out there in your lineups. And then you could play a Matt Harvey and Justin Dunn taking on each other in a game where they're taking on pretty rough lineups. But I also think you could be playing the bats in this game. So with that being said, we're going to transition over to bats. As always, I like to short my sheet by scale interactive ERA. Sierra, it's a good way of figuring out, how good a starting pitcher is overall and whether you can really target him. And the worst pitcher on the slate tonight is going to be Justin Dunn, just discussed, taking on this Baltimore Orioles team. If you're looking at my sheet right now, you can see he is terrible, a 18.4% K rate, 34.4% ground ball rate, 47.4% fly ball rate, has a big walk issue. Against righties, though, he doesn't really give up a lot of slugging. Ironically, the ground ball and the fly ball stuff's still terrible, but the slugging and the woba is not terrible. And then against lefties is where it gets bad. He really struggles against left-handed hitting. So the Baltimore lefties definitely going to have some interest in him. It looks like there could be some weather concerns. Whether this game even plays, I don't know, so I'll make it quick. Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander, G.J. Stort, Rio Ruiz, the lefties, Chance Cisco, Freddie Galvis. Really like those guys. And then, of course, you can always put the elite righties in your lineup. You got Trey Mancini, Maikel Franco in the middle of the order, Ryan Mountcastle. Like Trey Mancini and Maikel Franco, you could argue are top 3 bats in this lineup. Trey Mancini, you could argue he's the number 1 bat in this lineup. So those guys, just don't be afraid to keep them in there just because they don't hit from the left side of the plate. But I do prefer the lefties. Second on the list to target, we got Kohei Arihara. The only problem is there was only a 9 innings pitch sample size, and we have that same issue with the next guy on the list as well, Nick Neidert. So both these guys are looking like good guys to target, but we're talking like 9 to 12 innings. Arihara really bad against righties, it looks like, but like I said, small sample size. Really got to kind of lean on Vegas for this stuff. And it does look as if the line for the Tampa Bay Rays is pretty decent, and the Texas Rangers bullpen also doesn't scare me. 4.64 implied run total for the Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm definitely going to have some interest in stacking them up tonight. You got Austin Meadows, Randy Arozarena, Joey Wendell, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz at the top of the order. That 1 through 5 I'll really be locking in, and then the bottom of the order you can be tossing in some bats as well if you need to. My favorite out of those would be Manuel Margot and Willie Adames. I'm not really trying to play Yoshi. I just don't think his upside is really there for tournaments in baseball. So, could he go out there and hit a home run? Sure, but I don't think it's very likely. So, Nick Neidert taking on the Atlanta Braves, another guy with a small sample size, looking like we could attack him. As far as the line's concerned, the Atlanta Braves have a 5.3 implied run total. So I definitely do think that they're going to be viable today. We got Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna's finally back. So those top 3 all elite bats. Travis d'Arnaud in the 4-hole at the catcher spot. If you're playing on DraftKings, it's nice to be able to have a catcher you can throw in there and in a solid lineup spot. So definitely like the Atlanta Braves stack. And then you can go down all the way to the bottom of the Braves. You got Ozzy Albies, Dansby Swanson, and Austin Riley. Those 3 guys have no issues with you playing them either. Ender Inciarte is probably the one that I'd be a little bit wary on. I'm not really trying to play him. He's kind of more of a just strict contact hitter. Matt Harvey taking on Seattle. Another guy we can really be talking about. Really bad across the board. Seattle lineup isn't good, but they could definitely do good against Matt Harvey. He doesn't really have the best stuff. Looking at his stuff, 540 slugging given up to right-handed hitting, 38.4% hard hit rate. Really bad, and then against lefties, he gets even worse. A 615 slugging, 421 woba. That's really, really bad. So, definitely have some interest in the lefty power bats. So, Kyle Seager specifically in the 3 spot, going to be a tremendous play tonight. Jose Marmolos in the 4 spot, like him. We got Taylor Trammell, the young prospect, top prospect. I like him. J.P. Crawford, those lefties you can really hone in on. And then as far as the righties at the top of the order, Mitch Haniger, Ty France, have no issue playing them. Obviously, they're at the top of the order for a reason. Top bats in the lineup, so yeah, I'd have no issue with you stacking up the Seattle Mariners. And then from there on, that's where we're going to the pitching gets a little bit better. We can kind of break down the splits. David Peterson taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm definitely going to like some of the Philly bats tonight. I think that David Peterson, you can really attack him with some righty power bats, and I think that the Phillies definitely have some good ones. A 411 slugging, 33.6% hard hit rate, 323 woba, 39% fly ball rate, 40.7% ground ball rate. That's not going to get the job done against guys that can really crush, and specifically who I'm really looking to. Number one is Rhys Hoskins in the 2 spot. They have a 4.12 implied run total. Andrew McCutchen in the 1 spot, going to like him. JT Realmuto, Alec Bohm, Gene Segura. Really, mainly those are my top candidates. Andrew McCutchen and Rhys Hoskins being my favorite options, along with JT Realmuto. Those 3 guys really focusing on getting them in my stacks. 64 degrees with 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to the left. Looks like a pretty decent, hitting environment as well. So I definitely have some interest in some Philly stacks tonight. And then from there, Michael Fulmer taking on the Houston Astros. Really bad in the ground ball, fly ball, hard contact stuff. He's at 892 slugging, giving up to right-handed hitting. And he's better against lefties, and he's a righty himself, which is a little ironic, which maybe people aren't thinking to go against him with the Astros stacks tonight. I was that big on the Astros last night, and they kind of let me down, but I think we can go right back to them tonight because this is scary bad numbers against right-handed hitting guys. I mean, a 34 innings pitched sample size over the last 2 years, but that's decent enough to be able to notice this trend's real. And, yeah. Gonna like me some Houston righties tonight. Gonna like me some Houston stacks overall because, as we know, they have some great lefties in Michael Brantley, Jordan Alvarez as well. But Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Yulieski Gurriel, I think you got to really be taking a hard look at tonight because that's absurd. I mean, you don't come across numbers like that very often, that bad, 892 slugging. And then when you factor in that it's like a 30 innings pitch sample size, we're not dealing with like a 9 to 10 innings pitch sample size like we were talking about with those other guys. Yeah, I mean, I can't say it enough. It's going to be a great spot for these right-handed bats. So, like the Houston righties. And from there on, not really anyone I'm trying to look to target, honestly, as far as righties are concerned with these pitchers left on the slate. And as far as lefties are concerned, not really getting all too excited to target anyone either. The one thing that you could look at is targeting some Dodgers lefties against John Gray. Gives up a 466 slugging with a 41.3% hard hit rate against those left-handed bats, and the Dodgers do have some great left-handed bats, as we all know. And guys like Corey Seager, Max Muncy, Gavin Lux, Zach McKinstry, like those guys for sure. And yeah, that is my overall breakdown of this slate tonight. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Carlos Correa taking on Michael Fulmer. I had mentioned his issues against righties being a real problem here. A 558 WOBA with a 892 slugging, giving up really struggling against those right-handed bats. So it's hard for me to not really have interest in these right-handed bats. And specifically, Carlos Correa is the guy I'm really looking to in this one. On average, Michael Fulmer will go to his fastball at a 93-mile-an-hour rate. When looking at how Carlos Correa fares against that pitch, he features a 280 ISO with a 455 WOBA overall. And then Fulmer's secondary pitch will go to the slider, followed by the sinker. As far as the slider is concerned, Carlos Correa features a 264 ISO against that pitch with a 271 WOBA. And the sinker, Carlos Correa crushes as well, a 255 ISO with a 425 WOBA. Love Carlos Correa in this spot, and he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Carlos Correa, get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. If you enjoy the content, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. I wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.